Hello and welcome to Brinkwood Legacy Season 3. And this is our second session. Last time we started with Brinkwood Refuge. We have a new character, a new player, and John's joining us again this week. And this time we're going to get into Brinkwood Blood of Tyrants, which I'm super excited about. This is the original game that inspired everything. Disclaimer, Eric actually just released the latest version really recently. I want to say it was just like while I was sleeping. So I haven't read through it yet. I will read through it after this game. If there are any changes to the rules, I will tweak it. And because the last time there was a pretty significant change between editions for the mask abilities, but I'll double check. For now, we'll stick to what we have. I forgot to mention that before we started the recording. But yeah, so we will introduce ourselves first. I'll go ahead and start. My name is Jamie. I use they, them pronouns. I'm very lucky to be the GM for this series. This is part of the Gauntlet calendar, which you can find out more about at thegauntlet-rpg.com. The Gauntlet community is an online gaming community. It's a gaming club, basically. We play tabletop RPGs with a focus on indie games, OSR games, story games. We'd love it if you could join us and play with us. So we're, if I do say so myself, a pretty cool group, you know. But yeah, so we'll go with the rest of the introductions, and we'll start, of course, with I'm just remembering how Sherry got this character keeper first because of coming from all our Midwest friends. But anyway, so we'll start with Sherry, who's playing Devilla.
Yeah, my name is Sherry. I use she, her pronouns, and I am playing Devilla Minstrice, who also uses she, her pronouns. Her alias is Chop. We never use them, but I just love that alias, so I'm going to say what it is. Let's see here. She is Silfolk, beast folk, so oak-skinned, ram horns. Her upbringing is faithful. She knows the faith, she knows the songs, and her skill because of that is that she has true sight. She can hear the most ardent thoughts of folk, and also that she was sort of a born healer. She has the surgeon ability, so she can heal even without the mask of whichever mask it is. It's like torment without the mask of torment. So she can heal even then, but because of all the things that she said, she has seen, she feels like she has to be more effective, more upfront. And so she's chosen to try to train herself up as a mage, and she's just getting underway. She's more on the study side than she is on the casting side, but she keeps trying, to much consternation for all around her. And but things will be good one of these days. She has worn the masks of judgment and the masks of riot, and she loves them both. She just falls in love with the masks, no matter what it is. So she wants to do what both of them want, which is apparently, let's see here. First, it's going to be very complicated, but eventually she'll end up a general. So this sounds good to her, because that's what everyone needs, is Devilla as their general. She has two associates that she can call upon during things. One of them is Corbin, a sprite, who was my playmate when I was a child. Coincidentally, it happens that it was also Cornix's playmate, even though Cornix lived quite far away. But Corbin is an amazing creature, and I believe in him. Cornix likes magic, and he likes treasure. And what's wrong with that? And then Clairvy, who was a banished court physician. Let's see here. I think I cleared my level 3 ban Eating Dreams.
Yeah, I forgot to remove that, so let me do that.
That's okay. I did. I can hit delete too, and I did.
Yeah.
So I'm down to just, I have no stress, and I have only one ban in place. The psychic feedback is still kind of bothering me from time to time. And I have some things that I need to do. One of them is get that book of names from the sacrifices from the Chapel of Stered. And I did already tell Lady Samira that she didn't have to give up her heart. And the Mask of Judgment is now back in the commission.
Yeah, done eating through the gore mask.
Exactly. And yes, and the Mask of Riot wants me to become a general. So working on the general points. Okay.
Yeah, I think what I did was I accidentally unmarked, but I don't remember. I guess if it's here. So did Lady Samira have a level 2? I think I might have removed that one by accident instead of Develops, but I'm not sure. If this was removed, then we just forgot to.
I think we spent tokens to get rid of Samira's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we also remove this one.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, because I would say that what happened did undermine her plan significantly anyway. So, but yeah, good point. I'm gonna have to address that. I'll look at the rules again. But anyway, yeah. So that's Devella, and then
Devella.
yeah. Speaking of Lady Samira, Joel, if you could tell us about yourself as Lady Samira.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Joel. I use he, him pronouns. I am playing Lady Samira, who uses she, her pronouns. Her alias is Shard, and her hobby is just pure decadence. And the pact that she's made with the Fae is one of vengeance. She is a fair folk, so she's very kind of like pale, gaunt, willowy, and kind of like frail looking. Her upbringing and profession was as a scion and a wastrel, so she's just kind of been raised in the lap of luxury, has never really had to like work for much in her life, kind of a very comfortable upbringing. And her class or her training was as a messenger, and her great tragedy that befell her and like the reason she's looking for this vengeance is that everything she had worked for was used as a bargaining chip by vampiric nobility, because she used to own a like entertainment place or like a bar, and oh my god, it was pretty much used blanking the
Oh, no worries. I remember. It was sold to the Duke by
yes.
the Countess, and then just turned
Yes.
into this horrible factory.
Yes, thank you. And all of her like friends and coworkers and employees that were there were all slaughtered by the Duke. So that's why she wants her vengeance. And her trait, she can kind of like lightly mesmerize people, and then she can cobble together some paperwork because she's kind of done the like bureaucratic accounting aspect of owning the entertainment place. And her associates or her allies that she has is Samsur, who's a servant who attended her as a child, and Gael, who is a well-informed foreign spy that we kind of tapped for some information and to get us into a dinner party last time. And that is pretty much all she's got going on. She got rid of her band last time, so she just has a light band right now to protect Caleb, who she's starting to fall in love with.
Absolutely. Okay, perfect. And then as a note, it takes an action to unmark the associate, just in case anyone needs to know. It's called Reconnect, spending time aiding others to unmark a relationship, which we can do as a downtime action. Okay, and then next, so Daniel Contran is today, so I'm gonna just hide Bastian, but we will see them next week probably. I can remember how to hide stuff. It's here somewhere. There we go. Okay. But yeah. Oh, we'll put the picture here. Okay. All right. And then next, Josh, tell us about yourself and Cornix.
Alrighty. Hello, I'm Josh. I use he, him pronouns, as does my character Cornix this evening. He has technically the alias Kingfisher, although it doesn't go by it too often. It's cool. So he, like Devella, was raised in the Old Faith. He was part of this Old Faith sect, which was tragically wiped out by the vampires, leaving him perhaps the sole survivor, perhaps not. Following that, he spent some time as a cut purse trying to make ends meet, before probably burning several bridges there, and then fell in with the Refuge, where he brings his skills at infiltration and swashbuckling. He is good friends also with Corbin the Sprite, definitely the same Corbin. Again, nothing going on there. As well as Ionia, a reliable fence from his history as a cut purse. Cornix has been having a great time, honestly. He's not looking too stressed. He hasn't picked up any bands. It's just him and the Mask Violence. And the Mask of Violence telling him to do things, and he says, sure. And there won't be any consequences for any of his actions ever.
Yeah, well, it's Carnix and the three Dryad souls that are.
Oh, yeah, I can't forget the 3 souls that are currently inside Cornix.
Yeah. So, but yeah, totally fine. Totally fine. All right, and then we have a new character. So, John, if you could introduce yourself and Luhan.
Yes, hi, I'm John. I use he, him pronouns. I will be playing Luhan, who also uses he, him pronouns. Though more often, I think he does go by his alias of Slick. Luhan is one of the Scalefolk and has this shining emerald skin that has like a secretion that keeps him, kind of shining, but also slick. So the name, stuck. He also has long ears and a forked tongue, and his upbringing is as a cogs camper, which I understand to be someone who worked in the factories, basically squeezing into hard to get places because they were small and slippery and able to get to these things. After he made it out of that, he became a sailor. And then when he joined the revolution, it is as a saboteur. So he's very good at running around and breaking things specifically. His strategy was that his family was torn apart when he was a young age. So he became a cogs camper. His family members were also sent to other areas and lost contact with each other, but he believes that they are out there somewhere. Let's see, what else should I cover?
Your abilities. Mm-hmm.
My abilities.
Mm-hmm.
I have to remind myself.
Yeah.
It was very late when I chose these last night.
I noticed.
So let's see. Cogs Camp Veteran gives me, so having survived the factories, he has a lot of knowledge about them, and can also garner respect of the workers in them. So that will give +1 effect when ever relevant. And then as a rigger on ships, he knows how to tie knots, climb quickly, scramble in and out of tight holds. So gains an effect for whenever that would be helpful. His 2 associates, one is Philin, another Cogs camper who was not quite as lucky as him and lost a limb. And then the other is Braval, who is a skilled navigator. So
Braval was also on the ship with you, basically, as a sailor.
Right. Yes. Okay. Yeah, both of these are ex-co-workers.
Yeah, absolutely. So with your family, so when they were torn apart, do you mean like they were forced to like live with certain people or serve vampire lords?
I'm picturing probably the latter. I'm kind of saying that Luhan, was sent to be a cogs camper. It basically was cut off any communication with them at that point, and so maybe I think probably a big part of his story is looking for information about where they were sent to, what's happened to them since, and finding them again.
Absolutely.
Which is also part of his Fae pact. So his pact with the Fae is freedom. So breaking those bonds and letting people free.
Absolutely. Very cool. Very cool. All right. So those are our characters. John, I totally blanking. I remember, did you say that you played Forge in the Dark before? Like Scum and Villainy, was that it?
Yeah, I've played a session of Scum and Villainy and then a session of Heist.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. So I'm sure you understand the basics, but don't worry about like mastering the system. We're here to help you out. Basically, if I had to describe Forge in the Dark in a nutshell, it's about knowing what options are available to you. You can always push your luck and push yourself and take risks. There are different ways you can do that. So it's about like making a decision of, are you going to push yourself to give yourself more stress in order to do it? Are you going to use a mask ability? Other people can help you. They can also set up an action to make it easier. So we'll be here to help you out with those options. The most important thing is for you to just tell me what you want to do, and then we'll help you figure it out, right? So, but yeah, as straightforward as possible. In case we're not clear, like if we get caught up in anything, please feel free to ask questions, but I'll do my best to keep track. But yeah, okay, so to talk about where we are, I'll go over the general stuff first in terms of where we are. So I'm trying to remember. Okay, so just as a reminder, I keep laughing at these hot pictures I got of the vampire lords. They're all evil, but I got hot pictures. So so we have all three, of course, they're still on the board. So that is the Duke, the Countess, and the Baron. We are playing that particular version of Brinkwood where we have all three vampire lords on the board. And just as a reminder, I think in this version of Cardenfell, it's not clear exactly who owns what all the time, but in general, the Baron has control over the lower land. So the marshlands and this area, the Stone Tongues, the Three Sisters here, these little things. And the Duke mainly has control over the larger sections. So Innisfirth, the Rot Fortress, this side, and then our Countess has control over Grismont, Drancaster. But I want to stress that all of this is changing a lot all the time. Like the three vampire lords are exchanging what they own as favors. They're not really attached to anything. They're not very possessive. They understand that they have to play nicely with each other, right? And to make concessions and compromises. I'm really basing it off my own personal experience of Filipino politics. So like, but they're willing to like shift things around as they need to. And in terms of, so that's where our main vampire lords are at. And just as a reminder, the Duke controls blood, steel, gunpowder, and fear. He rules with an iron grip, carefully choking his peasants for every drop of blood, every sliver of silver, every grain of gunpowder, every ounce of steel. I am the heel that grinds forever. And the Countess is centuries old with a lust for perfection. The Countess has established herself as a patron of art, of beauty, of culture. She rules by the pen and the brush, constructing a fanciful, if false, image of her reign. I alone obtain perfection. And lastly, we have the Baron, which we've been encountering their vampire lords a lot. So the Baron, very few see of them. They're bilious, skeletal, horrid, oozing. Words such as these trickle from the madmen who have caught glimpses as it stalks, lonely and wretched, ever hungry. We feast, we drink, but it is sand upon our throat. So we know a little bit more about the Baron because we've been interacting with the vampires who serve them the most lately. So currently favors Sister Red, believes that Count Damask attacked the cathedral and their favorite lieutenant, oh boy, has taken a special interest in Devella, gave Sister Red the dead bodies of those who helped Devella. So why is the Baron willing to fight with the Countess? Because we know the Countess wanted Devella as well. So this explains why Devella was so stressed at the Refuge last time. Okay, I think to update this a little bit because, yeah, because last time everybody was able to successfully set up Count Damask against Lady Circe. So we know that, well, you know, Lady Circe went to talk to Dumas and try to, things are just not going super well. We know that Count Dumas is currently in a body. So he no longer looks like this. He looks like, I know I put the picture here somewhere, but here we go. So he has a new body, basically. But we know that this body is not stable. We know that we interrupted the ritual that the witch had. So this is the witch that had the Queen of the Dryads inside of them. And so no longer has access to that. The witch was momentarily defeated. They sort of just like crawled away in a very gross fashion somewhere. We don't know what's up with them. But we do know that Count Damask is in this younger body, beautiful body, but fragile body at the same time. He can no longer return to his original body because of the interruption of the ritual. We know that you have at the Refuge a sleeper fae, someone who didn't realize that she was a fae, and only when she interacted with the Mask of Riot was she awoken. So there is that. And you also have just a reminder of who Lady Circe is. Once an apprentice of Count Damask, is a practicing necromancer, now works with the Duke as a headhunter, is creating a source of power that is similar to Sister Red's for Count Damask, but we know that these plans have been waylaid for now. And aside from that, we know that there's this group of strange people working together. So mystery guy, we did not get to give him a name. Another who looks suspiciously like Caleb. Oh, I should. This is like a typed here. And so he's connected to Caleb. And so and Cassandra's connected to Cornix. We know that they were working together to try to undermine what was going on with the vampires, but they seem to have very, I mean, we can't really fault them. You guys came in with the Mask of Riot and like incited stuff. So I don't know, maybe they're not as violent compared to, but they're fairly violent, right? We also know that Count Damask only managed to survive because of the hidden blade, the strange weapon that has that we haven't really figured out the mysteries of. Let's see what else is going on. Sister Red, who was your main target, you have significantly weakened them because you were able to take away their power source, which was the Dryads originally. So you were able to rescue the Dryads. And now, thanks to the events in Refuge, the Dryads are doing much better. So Sister Red has lost access to that. We know that Sister Red has also been really busy with this whole Count Damask situation. So it's safe to say that because of what's going on, Sister Red is spread very thin, trying to figure out what Count Damask is up to, what Lady Circe is up to, and no one knows that you're involved in these events. You were able to get away. Count Damask assumed that you were working with Sister Red, so things are going super well. If Sister Red heard of you, then she thinks you're working with Count Damask. And so nothing has been discovered yet. So there's that. Another thing to take note of is in building your rebellion, I will say, because we are close to, so just as a, I'll just go over this again, because this is a rule that's unique to Brinkwood. Each brigand starts with just one downtime action, and we get more downtime actions the stronger your rebellion gets. So right now, everyone has one downtime action, but we have one extra action because we've reached rank 1 of influence. So we can have one extra action for a long-term project, Reconnect Spreads Edition, but this is for, not everybody gets this one extra action. It just means like this one is available for one person to take if they want. So we are close to unlocking another one if you want for organization to reduce heat, recover, and rest. So that might be something that we want to work towards. And organization does cover things like logistics, scale, the ability to provide for communities in Carnenfell, so to help with supply lines. So compared to influence, where last time we got very sneaky and we got information for spies and stuff like that. We also have, I realized I didn't mark it, but I remember we got the diggers, right? If I'm not mistaken. I'm just gonna go ahead and mark this to remind myself that we. So
can we make them a soothing green color instead of red like blood?
Oh, sure.
Because we have called them over to our.
That's true. I should stop thinking in terms of like
Yes, of matching the rest of the rest of this bloody game.
That's true. That's true. Good idea. Good idea. So you have work with the diggers. I have to double check. I think there's something that's supposed to happen the moment that someone joins. But yeah, I'll double check that in a bit. And then our heat is relatively low. We're at 4 heat. Our tyranny is still at 0. So in this game, tyranny is how much they know that you exist and how much control they're exerting to try to push back against you. So right now, what people know of the brigands, what the vampire lords know, it's just like a bunch of rumors. It's just stuff they tell each other to amuse themselves and entertain themselves. Nothing serious. No one really believes that you're real. So we're at that point right now. And so, let me just double check. I should update this rank because we're already at 1. Okay, and then in other things, you've done a lot of good work at Flinford. It's already at, so another thing, just to go over it. So John, we can create sedition, this properly creating sedition across the different towns. So what we're trying to do is increase the sedition level of each of these places so that we can have a stronger rebellion. So right now things are going pretty well, actually. Marshlands are
how many levels of sedition are there?
So it can go all the way up to 4. Right.
Okay.
I have to double check the number, but it can go pretty high. So right now at level 1 for Flinford, for example, you'll get like a few people who will like come to the Brinkwood and keep you up to date with what's going on there. If you come by, they're more willing to help you. Versus in places where there's no sedition, they're going to be understandably afraid. They might report to the vampire lords what's going on to protect themselves, understandably, right? Because we're all under the boot of capitalism. I mean vampires. So, they're just trying to protect themselves, understandably. Yeah, so that's what's going on. There are a few more things though, like we can check out in the NPC tabs. Lady Winter is still recovering from like what is going on when the Countess was trying to transport her, but she is still technically the patron of the Brinkwood. Let's see. The undead flowers are still around. They were just a temporary cohort, so they're no longer cohort. Oh, I remember I was supposed to look up cohort. I totally forgot to look up those rules. Let me do that right now. With the brand new version, I guess we can do that. Why not? Let me just quickly. I downloaded it on my phone, but not on the computer. But any ideas we have so far for what we're interested in for this session? Oh, you know what? Actually, I totally forgot. I said we were going to start at the Refuge. We can do that first. As we peek into your characters, and then we'll discuss what we're interested in. So as we go around the Refuge, let me go ahead and start. We see images of our Refuge characters. Wraith leaving the hearth with a huge pot of tea in tow for the healing tent where Mother Myrtle is. We see glimpses of the Dryads with our warden and our changeling as they check in on the Dryads. We see that the Refuge is bustling with activity. The diggers are there. They have sent one of their own to connect with the brigands, with the rebellion. And so, actually, there's like a specific character. So that's very cool. So we'll see who they are in a bit. But for now, we see them moving through the forest, making their way to the Brinkwood. But what do we see of each of our characters? Let's go in character keeper order. So what is Devella up to in the Refuge?
Let's see here. Well, let's see. She's already recovered as much as she's going to.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that she knows that they're going to go out and do some stuff. So she's trying to get everything all ready for that time while she's gone. So no one will miss her.
Mm-hmm.
So she's going through and how should we say? She's like mixing up like she's helping Mother Myrtle get all of the sort of work done for in case we bring back more people. And also to get ahead on the medicines and stuff that are there. So she's doing that, and she's bossing Argon around because you have to. And I think that one of the other things that she is doing is she is spending some time with, I want to get her name, with Demetria, who is connected to Lady Winter, to try to find out what she thinks are the next steps that we need to take to help Lady Winter, and to see if she can start getting that prepped and all of those things. So, and understand that Demetria is probably one of the more Fae of the people that is here. Like, is she Fae or is she like, I can't tell.
Yeah.
She seems very Fae to me, if that makes any sense. So
right. So previously on Brinkwood, in the face of our despair. So what we see is that Demetria was a child of the forest, the last gift that it had before the vampires took over. And our brave Fae guardians protected Demetria, made sure that Demetria made it to the portal in order for them to survive. So basically they are Fae, but I'll say like in a way that even other Fae are like unsure of, because Demetria is like the purest form of the fading magic. Like, there are probably rumors that you found out over the weeks that because she was born from the forest while it was in the midst of its corruption of the vampires, it's quite possible they're slightly afraid of her, right? Because she could also bear that corruption within herself, even though she's done nothing to show that. But that is what people are afraid of.
Davila has no such fears. She has great faith that Demetria is pure and pure-hearted. And so I think that she does consult with her about that, but she also kind of tries to bring Ruby in so that she's by other Fae and starting to adapt to Fae things. Oddly enough, she keeps the Fae who's always in the healing tent at arm's length from Ruby, because he is a particular attention-seeking person, and she's like, I don't want him to learn those lessons. I forget what his name is though. He used to be at the top.
Oh wait, sorry. Which one is this one again?
The Fae who's in the healing tent. So he's in the Refuge NPCs. Is what it is. You know who I'm talking about.
Is this the himbo?
Yeah, the himbo. Our himbo Fae.
Yeah, sure.
Bella's like, he's a troublemaker. So that's
I'll say
he's a troublemaker.
I like the idea that he's probably been very nice to our new Fae. So Salon is his name. So he has long, curly hair, dark skin, this ridiculously huge unicorn-like horn, and these large ears. So he's very proud of the unicorn horn. You probably catch him polishing it.
Exactly. And asking people if they want to touch it, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In a way that is completely inappropriate, but he doesn't realize. Like, yeah.
And that's why Davila tries to keep her away.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But yeah,
he's enthusiastic but wrong.
Yeah. It's very true, unfortunately.
Okay, so I think that's what she's doing mostly. But yeah, if there's anything that she can do to assist Demetria and Lady Winter, that is probably what she would be working on.
Very cool. And I think what we see of Lady Winter is she has to spend a lot of time in the forest. She's still a little weak. Enough time has passed. I'm going to say like it's at least been like a few weeks, but she has a hard time like leaving the Brinkwood, and even just moving around the refuge seems to drain her. And where she tends to hang out in a part of the Brinkwood in the forest where the trees have turned into almost pure ice, like you can see that the forest is responding to her and trying to help heal her at the same time.
Okay.
But yeah, And so how about Lady Samira? What are you up to?
I think she is kind of poring over the I don't know, tactical map that we might have of the area with a pilfered wine bottle that we got from the dinner party, like one of the few drinks there that's actual wine, and it might have a label of one of the Duke's vineyards, or probably the Countess would have a vineyard, like one of the Countess's vineyards. And there's a point where she bribes one of Rayeth's orphans to go get her some appetizers from the hearth and some finger food, as she's looking over what the best course of action might be. And there's a silhouette of a kind of reddish skinned horned figure that catches her eye, and she starts to go to them, but then they turn around and it's not Caleb, and she kind of drinks more wine at that and goes back to embarrassingly looking over the tactical stuff.
I think that's when you hear a voice behind you that says, "My lady, that's a lot of tension along your shoulders. Perhaps I could be of assistance."
I do my best to work under a little pressure, and then she'll kind of turn around and stand up straight at that. And it's but if you're able to help, by all means.
And so Caleb's about to step forward when you hear the familiar thwack of a sound of Mother Myrtle's rod against his back. And you hear Mother Myrtle say, "Now, you two, focus." You two have been giving each other eyes all morning. We have a foray to plan. Or did you forget?
And kind of a chastised kid, Samira's just "No, I haven't forgotten. I was actually just looking over the map as we speak before I was interrupted."
And Mother Myrtle gives a pointed look at Caleb. "You, come with me. Lady Samira, I'll have someone else attend to your aches and pains. But in the meantime," and she produces a little tincture, hands it to you, very pointedly, giving you this knowing look. "I'm sure that we can all be a little more focused."
Yeah, and Samira will kind of chagrin, just take her medicine and give a little shrug to Caleb, who's being drug away behind Mother Myrtle, and then it goes back to the maps.
Yeah, he gives you the most adorable put upon face before he's dragged away.
Mm-hmm.
And so how about Cornix? What do we see of him in the refuge?
Yeah, so I think Cornix, in preparation for the next foray, has been sort of doing a final check on the various pieces of gear and blades and all of that. But I think also a little bit in his spare time, and not necessarily in a way that needs to amount to anything. But I think he's just been getting very curious as to why Violet seems to be collecting body parts, and or what the Mask of Violence might even do in its own free time. He's I've been spending a lot of time with this weird spooky mask that tells me to do things and bring back arms and stuff to the refuge. I wonder if that's going to amount to anything. So I think he's maybe been attempting to quietly sort of poke around, the more mysterious, spooky parts of the refuge. Be is this where the masks hang out? Is Violence over here? Is am I gonna find just a collection of spare arms? What's going on?
And I think that's when your senses, as a rogue, you can tell when someone's watching you, and you just get this sensation that someone is very, very close, and you don't know how they got this close without tripping your senses sooner. But when you look, you see the mask less the plain wood grain of the keeper of the refuge, and they look at you and you realize that they're just waiting for you to speak.
Yeah, I don't think Cornix has had a lot of one-to-one interactions with the keeper, so it's just sort of a awkward turn around and hi. What you up to?
And so Soleil steps forward, and Soleil says in a very soft, serious voice, I believe we haven't met before this moment. I am the keeper, and you are looking for signs of violence, are you not?
I guess you could call it that. Just a little curious, I suppose.
And then you hear another voice that says, that almost squawks bird-like. Now, Soleil, don't pick on the young one. And you see that it's Ashtaria off to the side, and they're like tapping their bird-like foot onto the ground. If he wants to see what violence has been working on, he should just be able to see it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
And Soleil, even though Soleil has no expression in the mask, you can tell their shoulders get a little tense. And Ashtar turns to you like one large bird-like eye, and they snap their beak at you. But once you see it, you can't unsee it, my dear.
Yeah. I think Cornix is gonna pause a little bit. And I don't think Cornix is necessarily like one to really fully consider his actions. I think it's been very visible in this campaign up to this point. So he's going to think on it, and probably not really being able to form an idea of what's something so strange, horrifying, and or bizarre that I'll never be able to unsee it. Well, I can't think of something, so I'm sure it's fine. And then he'll nod.
And Ashtar like leads you deeper into the shrine, and Soleil just watches the two of you. They don't move to follow you. And you get this impression that Soleil is like here to make sure no one else follows.
Mm.
And as you're led in deeper, so I'm trying to remember, what did you offer violence so far? We have an arm from the
I think
butcher.
we have a right and a left arm.
Right.
One from the butcher, one from the witch.
That's right.
And
so,
then way back, the first foray, Violence wanted the necklace, which we figured out was part of that whole like elite group.
Oh yeah, the Knights of the Amethyst. That's
it.
Yeah. And so as you're led deeper into the shrine area, there's this one strange tree that's fatter than the rest. And you can see like its roots are just sort of like moving very slightly. And the mask of violence is placed onto the tree, almost like as if the tree has a face and the mask is hiding it. And you can tell that violence is slumbering. And as you come closer, you can hear what sounds like a heartbeat, but it's more than one heartbeat. And Ashtar says, well, last chance?
Too hard to turn back now.
And Ashtar shrugs and says, also, don't tell Reyes that I let you see this. And Ashtar like slowly leads you towards the other side. And you can see like the other part of the tree is sort of open, like you can see inside into the trunk, what is supposed to be the inside of the tree. Something, it doesn't look like it's been carved up by human hands. It's almost like the tree just sort of like made space within itself. You can see where all the branches and the roots grew out naturally out of this. And sure enough, you see the arm and the leg that you've collected. And they were both very different sizes, the witch and the butcher, but they've sort of been like, the parts that were too small have been added to by the tree. The parts that were too big have been resculpted by the tree. But they're both in a position, and there's something like roots coming out of all of them, but they're not quite roots, and they're very, very red, and all of them pulsate together, like several different heartbeats trying to find harmony. And as you watch, you can see that the arm and the leg are slowly growing outwards. And Ashtara says, well, if you give the mask of violence more, then, well, it's not my place to say, but they are creating something. Or should we say, recreating someone?
Mm. Ooh. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, no, I think Cornix mostly just sort of nods and looks on at that because, I mean, it kind of answers the question, doesn't it? Yeah, yeah. Ooh, recreating. That's fun. Exciting.
And as that happens, the hand starts to twitch, almost like a dream. And it looks like it's trying to reach out towards you. And Ishtar says, but it's already starting to respond to you. We should probably head back.
All right. That's cool.
So we cut to our Slick. So Slick, what are you up to in the refuge?
Yeah, so I think Slick doesn't do well with idle hands. And their hobby is actually carpentry. So being back in the refuge, they've, taking what little time they need to relax, but really their form of relaxing is working. And so it sounds like there's this new plan for horse stables. Well, we're gonna have to build some hitching posts and things. So I think we see Slick outside with a plane, shearing the outer bark off of a log, getting ready to, step by step, turn it into what'll eventually be a hitching post.
Right, and I feel like Nazo would be assisting in some fashion, right? Like probably gathering the horses from where they were in their temporary shelter, helping out as they can with you. When Nazo turns to you and asks, so, and you sort of sense like he's forcing himself to converse with you because he feels like it's polite to the person who's making the stables. Are you settling? That's what they usually say, isn't it? Are you settling well here in the refuge?
He'll kind of just shrug. Well enough. I've slept in a lot of places, been in a lot of beds. It's not that different when you get down to it. So yeah, you could say that.
And Nazo nods, and there's like this long, awkward silence for a moment before Nazo realizes they're supposed to say something. Well, if you need something, then please let Reyes know.
I can do that.
There's a very pointed, like, please don't come to me. But as he says that, that's when Eli comes by. You see this young man, blue hair, comes around all excited. Oh, hello. Yes, you're the new one, right? The new fighter rebellion person, Sir Luhan. Is that right?
Just Slick.
Oh, but sure, of course. And you can see Eli like refers to their notes and starts furiously writing down. And he's murmuring under his breath, prefers different names. So use the other one. That doesn't seem to work. Right. So Master Slick, Sir Slick, Slick, old buddy, old pal, he says. I just came to check if everything is accounted for. Do you have appropriate shelter, or is there anything else that we can do for you?
I think I've got everything I need right here. I mean, I can smell there's some food over there, and I've seen, enough people to last me a lifetime, it seems like. So I can manage, yeah.
When you say enough people to last a lifetime, you hear Nazo chuckle a little bit to themselves. And Eli like cocks his head confused, like, did he miss a joke somewhere? And Eli says, of course. If you need anything, Wraith is here. I'm here. We're more than happy to help you. Master Tolan is busy, but I'm here. I'm here to help. Absolutely. Master Tolan would help if he could, but he's very busy. But I'm here. And he's like overly shaking your hand, like it's been going on for a long time now.
I'm gonna need that back, Eli. It's kind of important for the task I'm working on.
Oh, right, hands. Yes, of course, absolutely. Yes. I should help, right? And then as he says he should help, Nazu gives you this look of like,
No, Eli, that's okay. I think I can handle it. Hey, Eli, I do have one quick question. You seem like kind of the book type, I gather. Do y'all have any records here about populations where maybe people have ended up over time? Anything like that?
And Eli nods and he looks a little sad, and you realize this is not the first time someone has asked. And Eli says, we're still in the middle of completing our records and taking what we can. There have been forays to take this information back from the vampire lords, but I'll see what we have and I'll bring them to you.
That would be really helpful. Thank you, Eli.
Okay, and then with that, I realized we just hit the top of the hour. So would we like to take our 10-minute break here and then we'll reconvene in 10? Okay, cool. I'll see you all then. Okay, so we're back from our break. And so we've taken a look at what everyone is up to in the refuge, right? So do we have an idea for, there are a lot of threads, right? So we have the Knights of the Amethyst, we have, if we want to just go after Sister Red, that's also entirely possible. You can let me know what other threads you're interested in and we can like weave them into the same mission somehow. Like maybe Sister Red is caught up with the Knights of the Amethyst. I can see why she would get desperate maybe and then try to drag that in. So is there anything in particular that I'm so distracted by Kitty that we'd really like to engage with for this foray?
So the group with the good-looking guy and the person that Cornix knew, we had the thing that they were associated with the Duke, right?
Right. It seemed like they were agents of the Duke and assisting the Duke, but they also seemed kind of like, you had this sensation that they were caught up in it, that they were
doing it for the money at the moment.
Yeah, and it's also the mystery guy kind of proposed there might be something else going on, but he didn't really give everything away. So
okay, they didn't give much away, at least that I picked up. So
well, he gave away that he was very interested in you. But...
well, mutual.
I just saw the chat. But yeah, I did think that you were talking about another person, to be honest. It took me a while to. There's
good-looking guy plus Cornix's friend, right? So
yes.
That's so they were with the Duke, appeared to be.
Mm-hmm,
and then who else? And then what's her name? Circe is with the Baron or the Duke?
Right now, Lady Circe is a headhunter for the Duke.
Weird, but it has been associated with the Baron in the past.
Yes.
It's very complicated. Very complicated. And then Sister
Red.
Out,
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then Sister Red is with the Baron. So we got the Baron and the Duke right here, a chunk. And then Dumask is with the Duke or with.
Oh, Dumask used to be with the Baron and is trying to. I mean, it's still with the Baron, but you framed him so that it looked like he was trying to take down Sister Red. So he's kind of in the outs with the Baron. And I will say, and this is something that the brigands will know, because the witch because the witch was defeated and is for all intents and purposes dead. Though, to be honest, we know that she's not dead, right? But for all intents and purposes, she's dead. This is another great blow to the Baron and to Count Damask. So Count Damask is on extremely thin ice. I would say that, that he's very, very desperate. So he would have to take Sister Red off the board entirely in order to make sure to protect himself at this point. Because he believes Sister Red is out to get him, right?
Right, and he needs something to stabilize his body, right? Like that Fey blood that Sister Red has that she hasn't let on that she's lost.
Yes, and we can say that she's probably has the last of it somewhere, or is getting desperate to try to use some other means of power. But it would make sense that Count Damask would go after her and try to take that for himself.
And here's the thing: is I'm thinking, if in fact what we were to do were to get him the specs that he would need to get to that, like where stuff is, that sort of intel, so that it would look like it might be a foray worth trying, and then kind of try to keep tabs on it so that after they do it, we just come in and clean up. So it looks like they've destroyed each other.
Yeah. I could even say if you wanted to get the help of Cassandra and the mystery guy, to try to, because if all they need is money, if all they need is blood sterling, we don't know how loyal they are to the Duke.
We need someone who's good at sedition to do that sort of thing. That's not my strong point. So, but that sounds like a doable thing, What do you guys think of that? Just to kind of finish those two off in one fell swoop?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a two birds, one stone. It seems like neither of them are in a great position to get an easy victory. So regardless of who could potentially come out on top, we'd probably have an easier in, like you said, coming in for cleanup. So.
Yeah, I love the idea of playing them both off each other and then using our shiny new saboteur to blow the whole thing down.
Shiny new saboteur. I will say that we are thinking about ranking up. Ooh, you know what? I should also share the changes I made over the break. So, wrong one. That's not it. This one.
Yeah, we want to do something that's not too spy-y.
Yeah, just in case,
Okay.
Because, and so here we are at rank 0 for organization. I would say that getting Mystery Guy and Cassandra to work with the brigands would be increasing your force, most assuredly. It could be taken in that way. But also, I just want to say, so we have leveled up your influence. So, I should change this to rank 1. At rank 1, rumors of rebellion are common, but are frequently dismissed or countered with vampire propaganda. So I would just say, in this time, we see a montage of people putting up posters and stuff like that. There's a printing press where they're talking about the great plan, how generous the Baron is in feeding and taking care of the different towns that they have control over. Of course, skipping over the sacrifices and stuff like that, because this is propaganda. So chances are most folks have at least heard of you, though many will not be willing to aid. A few sympathizers and supporters report on the most obvious actions the vampires take against you. So that's where you are right now. You have people coming in to share this information with you. So the influence goals at this rank to get to the next one is bolster your allies, turn potential collaborators against their vampiric masters, place spies in positions of power and defend them against intrigue, steal valuable intelligence, take prisoners, provide your own counter propaganda to intellectual circles. But once again, to look at organization, find safe houses, establish contacts, steal food, medicine, and blood sterling to finance your rebellion. I do think it would be safe to say Sister Red is sitting on a lot of blood sterling for sure. So, I forgot to mention. So, John, I should explain what blood sterling is. So, blood sterling is very literally the blood of the people mixed with sort of, it's an alchemical reaction. I remember I mentioned it last time in Refuge, but it's the currency, but vampires can break it down again to like ingest it as they need to for their vampiric powers. But yeah. So okay. And yeah, so definitely I would say getting Mystery Guy and Cassandra onto your side. And because we know that they were working with Caleb too, and Caleb hasn't given. That's probably why Mother Myrtle was so protective of Lady Samira at this point. Using someone else's PC against their PC is. I'm still twittering about that. It's out of love. I thought who is the most nosy and loving? It has to be Mother Myrtle. So, but yeah. Okay.
So if we wanted to sort of prioritize the taking of the Blood Sterling, could it be still playing them against each other, but not giving them enough time, whoever is victorious enough time to like pull out, so we like immediately go in, finish them off, and take Sister Red's remaining cache of Blood Sterling?
I
Yeah.
really like that idea. Like when both forces are weakened, go in and take their like
Mhm.
weapons and Blood Sterling and like anything they brought to fight, take it for us to fight with.
Mhm.
Swooping in. Yes. That sounds good.
Yeah. Would we
So,
like
and
to?
you-
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, and then you think if we brought that other group in to assist us with that, but got to figure out who's in the know, who's loyal to who.
Mhm. Yeah, you could do reconnaissance for that for sure. So gather information. They've renamed it reconnaissance. I am really reading the new PDF as we play right now, so it's not going to be, but it's still essentially the same thing. If we want to do reconnaissance to check in on them, I think it makes sense because Davella, you already have a relationship, so
Yeah, I think he's cute. That's a relationship, right? Yeah. Doesn't
There
need to
were-
be any deeper than that.
There were a few moments, but I am going to say that if it's you, he's going to recognize you because last time you had the mask of Riodon that was protecting you, and he knows of Davella that's connected to the Countess. So
And I think he explicitly said that I would be worth a lot of money.
yes. So in case you want to throw in someone else, like let's say another sedition expert.
That's what I was thinking. Is sedition is someone's strong suit in this group, but who is it?
It could be anyone. Did you want me to like go in by myself, or did you want to do the little like buddy cop that we've done in the past?
Ooh, buddy cop.
Oh yeah, Cornix and Samira buddy copping their way. We know who the good cop is Cornix and the bad cop is like. I say cop, I mean like imaginary nice propaganda cops from the movies, not real cops. Anyway, so like
Right,
I just feel like I have to put that out there. But yeah.
Yes. I think that would be ideal. So
Yeah.
I would prefer if someone else sussed them out because I'm just sort of, I don't know. He's very sparkly and I have trouble seeing past that. So I recognize a weakness.
I mean, at least you're aware of it, but how cute could he even be?
Didn't you see him?
I mean, there was a lot going on. There was a lot of blood at that party.
Was it blood that you saw? Okay. All right. So, but he seemed like he knew Caleb.
Oh. Okay.
He was concerned for Caleb. Kinda. More in that idiot's gonna get himself killed kind of concerned way.
No, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
He has that effect on people.
When he does risky things.
Mhm.
Okay. So just a heads up, if you want to drop a name, maybe Caleb's. You could ask Caleb, maybe. I don't know how these things work.
Myrtle just kind of like pat you on the hand and be like, don't you worry, dear.
Good. I hate worrying. Gives me like little lines on my brow.
Mhm. We wouldn't want that.
No.
All right. So, Lady Samira, how will you approach this, which skill do you think you're going to use?
I think she will start. Let me look at my abilities. I think she's gonna try and sway. Because is that the one where like you basically like schmooze people and go to a party, or is that consort?
Right, sway is more like that because consort is
In
like
some
it can be
consort
that
is to
way.
party with them, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah, because consort is to gain access to resources, information, people, and places. Sway is to charm, use logic, deception, disguise, or bluff, change attitudes or behaviors with manipulation or seduction. So if you're purely trying to get information, it could be more consort rather than sway. But if you're trying to convince someone to spill the, don't say tea, to give you information, then you can use sway.
Okay. Because I think there's a scene of like Samira kind of waiting for Mother Myrtle to like go deal with some like minor medical emergency. And there's Caleb maybe in like the bathhouse, like relaxing, and then she just shows up with like a bottle of wine and 2 wine glasses and is like, this is about to spoil soon. We should really do something about that. And we'll like relax and schmooze with him for a while and then just kind of let slip about how Devella was talking about a friend of yours at the party who was just oh so concerned about you. Who was that?
Ooh, that definitely sounds like a sway because you're trying to get him to open up about things that maybe he shouldn't say. So
Okay. Okay, and then it has been a while. So just add. Oh, I just added a bunch of dice to the right. Whoops.
no worries.
Okay, so
I see a
did that.
6.
Get 5 and a 6.
Okay. So 6 is the highest then.
Perfect. And you can see that Caleb considers for a moment, and you can definitely see that he's not supposed to be telling you this information, but it's very steamy here in the bathhouse, and this wine is very good, and you're so pretty, Lady Samira. And so Caleb leans against the sides of the bathhouse, and from above you can see all the little gods like peering in, trying to like overhear the information at the same time. Some of them are in the water, like coming closer. And Caleb says, I suppose it would be best to just tell you about these things, my dear Lady Samira. I don't want to have too many secrets between us. In fact, I would rather not have anything between us, he says, moving closer. His name is Zachariah. He means well. He still believes, and perhaps that's more than I can say for some of our other companions. And he still holds out hope, but he doesn't allow himself to feel it. Do you understand what I mean?
I think I do. Does he believe in the rebellion, or does he believe in what the vampires tell him?
Well, Zachariah likes to think he only believes in money, but I've seen him turn down really, really lucrative contracts for strange excuses. I know that we could convince him to join us. I mean, to join you.
Of course. I mean, we can work with that. And do you think his companions that he keeps with him feel the same way?
And Caleb comes in a little closer and Caleb says, Zachariah has a younger sister. And Zachariah thinks that she's too young to work with him, but she's incredibly talented. I think if you can get to her, it would be much easier to convince Zachariah. And she would be more than willing to join the rebellion.
I mean, that's such an underhanded tactic, Caleb. What's her name?
He smiles widely. Her name is Christina. I think the two of you are going to get along very, very well.
Okay.
Not too well, I hope, he says.
And she'll just kind of like splash some water on him, like chiding him a little bit. Well, I don't know if I could ever, manipulate someone in such a way. And then like off screen, like writes down Christina's name on a little like piece of paper that she has by her.
I think one of the little gods does it for you. Like they just write it down and like offer you the paper.
Yeah. Yeah, Samir and the little god like make eye contact. She just grabs a piece of paper, gives him a little nod. And then she'll, spend time afterwards to basically like thank him for the information and, have a little wine and a little more relaxing. And then I think after that, goes to find like Cornix somewhere and is basically just like, it's step 2 time.
Alrighty.
So, Cornix, how would you like to approach this? You could try to go straight to the sister, or you could also try talking to Cassandra, if you could track her down.
Yeah, I think going the Cassandra route might be interesting. Because there is the whole thing where, she was, at least Cornix thought she was dead until she popped up at that soiree. So yeah, I think try and track her down. One, to see what's up with her, and then, get the information that we need, which again, I had it on the tip of my tongue, but what is the specific piece that Cassandra would be able to get us again?
Oh, okay. So if you could get Cassandra and Zachariah to work with you, they could basically make it easier for the Sister Red and Count Dumas.
The conflict. Okay, cool.
They could
because they have the
means.
Seem to have some kind of expertise in crime.
And stirring shit up, yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm gonna try and track down Cassandra.
Ooh, so this sounds like it could be arguably, it could be hunt. It could be, I can see how it could also be prowl or survey.
I mean, I'm good with hunt or survey. I think that probably goes a bit more in line with tracking someone down. I won't say no to prowl, but to me that, there's an element of going places I shouldn't be with prowl. So I mean, if that seems relevant, then of course I'll roll it because I have 3d6 in it. But hunter survey is probably a little slightly more on topic.
Yeah. I guess we could let's go with hunt and then we'll see how it goes.
Okay. So I'm going to be rolling 1d6. Okay. I think that is still a 5. Looks like I clicked the button.
Yeah, and then it just rolled into a 5. So let's see.
Okay, yeah. I saw a little animation pop up in the corner. I was like, all right, I think we're good. Yeah, 5.
Okay, so which means pretty good information, right? You're able to track down Cassandra. I'm going to say that you actually tracked down one of their safe houses.
Mm-hmm.
You you realize, like, after you've gone through a few, that they're incredibly cautious, and so there's more than one safe house, and they're never at one for too long. And you manage to track down the one that they're actively at. When you come across it, you see Zachariah leaving. And not only does he leave to search for his sister you overhear, but he takes someone else with him, someone that you haven't seen before, like it's an overly large person with this huge cloak covering most of their features, but there's something odd about it. It's clearly like they're not people shaped, right? There's something odd about the way that, and you've come across people with horns and all these things. People can come in all shapes and sizes, but there's just something about this person under the cloak that just sets off your instincts. Like, you feel like there isn't really a person underneath, but you can't really place it. And as they move away, you see Cassandra's left behind. She's training. There's a whole set of like archery, I'm trying to look for the word, but targets, right? And so she's practicing drawing her bow. And as you think you're watching from the shadows, she says, "So if you don't reveal yourself right now, I'll turn around and shoot you." Let's exchange for 5.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, the whole point is meeting with her anyway. So I'll step out of the shadows, hands up, but not like, oh, don't shoot, but kind of like, all right, you got me. It's fine. Hey, no need to shoot. No need to shoot. Just came here to talk.
And so she slowly like releases the bow, but you can see like she hasn't really left that position. Like, she's ready to like pull up the bow and arrow at any second. And she looks at you, and you can tell that she's looking around you, and she says, "Alone, Cornix. Incredibly careless of you."
Yeah, is that so much of a surprise? All right. Cassandra, I have to say, you're looking considerably more alive than I had previously thought. I mean, minus the whole meetup at the party, but.
And so but now that you're looking at her again, you can see her dusky skin, the long, sleek black hair, the glowing eyes. And there's something about the eyes. It's kind of cat-like, like when a cat catches the light at an awkward angle and is just purely blank, right?
Mm-hmm.
Utterly unnatural. And she looks at you and she says, "You took some of it into you, didn't you?" She says, and she comes closer and she sniffs at you. You touched something you weren't supposed to."
Touched a lot of things.
She raises an eyebrow, completely unamused. And this is not the Cassandra you remember. The Cassandra you remember was much more gregarious, was much more open. This one, she's very closed off. She's very cold, incredibly paranoid and cautious. And you get a sense that she had to be this way to learn how to survive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she says, "So we don't work for free, and we're very expensive."
Straight to business then. All right. Well, I'll give you a little pitch of what we have in mind, and then we can start the negotiations from there. And I think Cornix would outline the basics of what they have, not giving away too many details, right? But being like, this is kind of what we want to do, and we want to have you and Zachariah involved because you're good at this, right? And we have reasons to believe this might align with perhaps what you're up to, right?
And she listens and she turns around. Normally, our price would be for such a thing, pitting 2 vampire lords against each other, 1,000 blood sterling. But I'm willing to waive the fee if you let us meet the Lady Winter.
Okay, all right. So I'm debating as to whether or not Cornix would just outright agree to that, or if he'd take it back to the group. And I want to throw that out there in case anybody has particularly strong feelings.
My thing is did you mention Lady Winter? Or just how does she know?
Oh yeah, no, I don't think he did. That's true, yeah. Okay, so before answering that question, quick follow-up. Oh, and what might you know of Lady Winter?
And when you say that, she raises an eyebrow again and she smiles. So it is true. I wasn't sure until you said something.
Played him like a fiddle. I love it. Yeah.
But she smiles, and there's a little bit of that old Cassandra in her before it covers up again. And she says, we have our sources. I might be willing to share them with you. But we know that the Countess is tracking down the old Fae, those who were guardians before the forests fell.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's important information to have anyway.
Which she gave freely,
Yeah. Fun little bonus. I think Cornix is going to agree to those conditions. Say, I think it can be arranged that you would be able to meet with the Lady Winter after all of this is done, of course.
And you can see like she's holding her breath, like she's waiting for the but.
Oh, yeah. But if the Brinkwood itself isn't going to accept you, then there's nothing I can do about that.
And Cassandra looks at you for a long moment before she says, well, if it accepted you.
I was just destroying him. It's great. Yeah, Cornix just shrugs, be like, you got a point. You got me there.
She nods and she says, very well, let's go over the plan one more time. And she finally puts away the arrow and puts the bow over her shoulder, finally relaxing. Okay, so which means we have Cassandra and Zachariah willing to work for this in exchange for something great. I will say that if you can convince Christina to be on your side, there'll be more than just temporary allies who may or may not, be able to hold out the entire, as it is right now, they might pull out in case it gets too dangerous, right, during the foray.
Yeah, so we would just have to approach her and say, hey, there's a rebellion. It's in the Brinkwood. You can come with us. That sort of thing, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if anything, when Caleb's going to meet up with his sister, that's where Cornix and Samira kind of broke off, and not Caleb, Zachariah. She followed Zachariah, and Cornix went to seal his deal.
Ooh, so Lady Samira is going to see what Zachariah is up to.
Yeah, kind of tail him until he goes to his sister, and then once he leaves from meeting his sister, that's when she kind of introduces herself to Christina.
Sure, absolutely. So as you're able to tail them, following, do you want to see if he catches wind of you or not, or?
Yeah, I think she would like keep her distance, and she's trying to hide like a face in a crowd type hiding and not necessarily like skulking around. So she would try and like keep an eye out to see if he's looking behind him.
So you don't have to roll for this if you're just going to wait until it's out in the clear and you get a clear shot at being able to talk to Christina. But if you want to hear what they were talking about or see what's going on with that mysterious, strange figure that's cloaked, then you're going to have to roll to see if you can get more information. So what would you like to do?
I will definitely try and roll. I have a whole 1 in prowl, so that's a number. And I think, yeah.
And besides, there's no real failure in this reconnaissance state, right? Unlike when we're in a foray. So in case, you know what, I'm not going to jinx it. Let's just see what you roll. I think
Only
it's
high
bad
numbers.
luck for the GM to like discuss what happens on that.
It's a 1.
See, I was trying to avoid it. Okay,
You jinxed it.
so on a 1 to 3, it's just like it's not a horrible outcome, right? Unlike when we're in a foray. I think in this case, as you're following them, the hulking figure suddenly stops and says, "Brother Zachariah, they've been following us for quite some time. Should we just take them straight to your sister?" And you can see like the figure like cocks their head like they're listening. Besides, Caleb has told them more than he should have. And at that point, that's when Zachariah sighs and says, "I see Caleb's weakness." And then turns around, looks at you through the crowd, immediately spots you. The Lady Samira, I assume.
And at that, Samira kind of just like probably like takes down the hooded cloak that she was wearing and just like tries her best to regain any like high ground in the conversation and saunters up to them and is like, "Well, I suppose I can't, a face like this can't stay hidden for long. Would you like to lead the way, boys?"
And Zachariah smiles. You're exactly his type. But as Zachariah's doing this, you realize like Zachariah's being protective of the other one, like trying to like make sure you don't look too closely at the figure. And the figure, like even though they're huge and hulking, they somehow manage to melt away in the crowd in a way that you can no longer track them. And Zachariah says, "I'll be your escort, my lady, for the rest of the way." And he offers an arm. "Shall we?"
And she'll like hook her arm through his and kind of like pat his shoulder to let him know she's ready to like go forward.
And so when he takes you deeper into the city, this is a very nice part of town. By the way, you are in one of the bigger places, Dragcaster. And so he brings you to an area where there are a lot of schools nearby. I mean, let's not get our hopes up. This is vampire propaganda schooling, blah, 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 blah. So it's not real education. It's just enough education to be able to work at the factories, right? I'm depressing myself thinking how much this is like real life. Anyway, so, but he takes you in and you realize that his sister is one of the teachers here, right? And he says, "So, Lady Samira, I assume that if Caleb trusts you and Caleb told you as much as he has, that we should give you this chance at least. But," and he smiles. And there's like you can see like his face like freezes for a moment. And he says, "But my sister means a lot to me. And if she were to be hurt in any way."
And Samira will just kind of like pat him on the cheek and say, "I expect nothing less."
And so he smiles, knocks on the door, right? And so you can see that there's a head librarian, right? And her name there, knocks on the door and it opens up. She's very excitable when she opens it up. She has long, pale hair, very like small, fragile looking horns, and she has she's painted her face in a certain way. And you recognize that this is actually like something that the vampires don't allow most people of Cardenfell. So the fact that she's working in the school and she has these markings on her face is quite strange. And she looks at Zachariah, throws her arms around him, and she goes, "Oh, brother, you came. I was hoping that you would make it in time. I'm about to go to the auditorium." And she turns around, "Oh, I'm so sorry. We have a guest. Hello, I'm Christina. It's so nice to meet you."
And Samira will like reach out her hand to shake it. Lady Samira, it's a pleasure. I've heard a lot about you.
And she smiles. "Oh, you have? Oh, that's so strange. I'm quite new. I just recently replaced the last headlight, but happy to have you here. Is there something I can help you with?"
Yes, I was hoping, that we might just have a little conversation, girl to girl.
And so is this the part where you're going to try to convince her to?
This is the part where I'm going to try and convince her. Yes.
Sure. So do you think this is a sway roll? Because it could very well be.
Yeah, I think like Samira will kind of, take Christina's hand and like lead her away a little bit from Zachariah as like we're just gonna have a little gal pal talk between new friends, and starts to talk about pointing out, it's rather uncommon for someone such as yourself to have the face markings you do. You must have a lot of value for your heritage.
And she smiles and she says, "Well, I've been able to convince the administration that," and her voice falters a little bit, "that it's purely for aesthetic purposes. And yes, and hopefully we can convince them that it can be more later, but we win our battles where we can, don't we?"
Of course, aesthetic purposes just between us. But wouldn't it be nicer if if we could wear them for other purposes a little quicker? Maybe the administration just needs, a heavier hand in getting us there.
And she looks at you and she looks at Zachariah for a moment, and they nod at her to help her calm down. And she says, "Oh, you're one of," right. And she looks around and she locks the door behind you and she pulls the curtains over the window. Like you can see that she's like, "You're from the woods."
Yes, my dear, such frantic measures aren't necessary. It'll just give yourself away. Just be calm. But yes, I am from the woods, and I'm just with a group of like-minded individuals who just wants to see a better life for everyone around here. I was hoping we might be able to work with someone in an esteemed position as yourself as a head librarian.
And she looks at you. So I'm offering you another choice, Joel. You may
Okay.
roll if you like, but she does have something that she's very interested in. And if you can promise it to her, then you won't have to roll.
Ooh, okay. What is she very interested in?
And she looks at you and she says, "I heard that there's a library in the Brinkwood and that the esteemed Master Toland works there. Is that true?"
Oh, there is the most vast and thorough library that you would ever see. And Toland is a And she kind of like, I assume there's a little flashback in her mind of like her spilling wine on like one of Tolan's books and him like berating her out of the library or something. He's a dear friend of mine. If you wanted a meeting between the two of you, I could easily arrange that.
Yes, but actually, I'm more interested in his esteemed friend, the great wise Zaliba. If you could bring Zaliba here.
And Samira's kind of
So
like
for
racking
people
her
watching, we cut
Yeah.
to like
Yeah,
the bear
The skull.
skull with the
Yeah.
antlers.
with the antlers. Yes.
brain. And like Samira kind of like just her facade breaks and she's like, the skull? I mean, yeah, sure. That shouldn't be an issue at
That
all.
would be absolutely wonderful if we could just borrow him for a while, just in the library for a few weeks at most. I have a few people we can trust who would love to hear the wise words of Zaliba. And of course, Master Toland.
And Samira's just muttering under her breath, like, wise words. All he does is complain. But I mean, I'm sure he would like an outing, see a little different change of scenery. I think we could agree to that.
And then she puts out a hand and she says, well then, Lady Samira, you have another happy rebel willing to work with you. And Zachariah rolls their eyes.
And Samira will like shake her hand and say, like, best not to call yourself a rebel.
Oh, right. Yes, absolutely. Casual. I can do casual. And as she leans back towards the table, she misses it and falls down into the ground before she picks herself back up and then thrusts the curtains open. Right. So I will go to the wood soon to discuss and pick up our esteemed friends.
And I will make sure the arrangements are made. And then she'll kind of like turn to Zachariah to basically be escorted out.
So before we go to break, I'd love to see, Slick, is there anything you want to do to prepare, like do any reconnaissance? Is there anything you want to check in? Because we have like a very strong set of people who can help, but we actually don't know anything about the place where Sister Red is at, or its defenses, or what troubles might be there. But we can also like go in blind. This is Forge in the Dark after all, and then we can flash back to see if there were any preparations you did. But is there anything you'd like Slick to do?
Can I have the break to think on it?
Absolutely. That's a perfect way to use the break. So how about we take a 10-minute break here, and I'll see you all in 10 minutes. Okay, cool. Okay, so we're back. All right, so John, do you have an idea? Do you have any questions for what you'd like to do for the reconnaissance stuff?
So I don't have anything in particular that I want. I am curious though, from the game structure standpoint, is this like a portion of the game where if we do stuff ahead of time that helps us like a mechanical advantage, or is this purely just, hey, we're just making some story here?
Yeah, that's a good question. Mostly it's to, if I'm going to be like bearing the structure, it depends per GM. A lot of GMs like to do this if it helps them figure out what's going on, because like, as you can see, like it just, with Brinkwood, you just kind of see what the players are interested in, right? So the more questions, reconnaissance you ask, the more that that the GM can like create things, but also like there will be a mechanical benefit depending on the role. Like if you get like a good enough information. So for example, like we've been rolling pretty high here. So so we got Cassandra to help out. We got Caleb to give over. Because like if we hadn't gotten a 6 of Caleb, I don't think Caleb would have been so forthcoming with information about Zachariah and all the rest. And that being said, because Lady Samira didn't roll, well, I mean, Joel didn't roll. Lady Samira is always perfect. So because Joel rolled a 1 earlier, that means we lost out on the information on what that strange companion is. So that may come up in the foray as a surprise later. We're not sure yet. I'm going to be honest, as a GM, I'm not sure yet either. Like, what's
Okay.
going on with that. Like just to pull the curtain back a bit, right? I very much base it on the roles. But yeah, like if you like, for example, if you're going to figure out like where we're headed, what's going on, if you find out what the obstacles are ahead of time, I can give you better position and effect later on because you know what's going on or you're prepared for it. So it can translate to a mechanical effect as well.
Gotcha. So maybe in that case, because I think if I'm following correctly, we're looking for Sister Red, but not sure where she is. I could picture Slick. You know, he's fairly comfortable with the you know, sailor crowd, the you know, people of the naval ways, which is how I imagine most goods are probably shipped around, maybe people as well. So I could imagine maybe looking for to see if you can find information about, you know, has she been moving things anywhere? You know, has she passed through someplace, or, you know, are there any rumors circulating in that regard?
Yeah, that sounds really good. So that sounds like a consort role, unless you feel like there's another skill that you could justify that with.
That makes sense to me, because I'm picturing this as in a sense hitting the pubs, right? Looking for the people who just got off of work and, you know,
Yeah,
buying some
absolutely.
drinks, having some friendly conversation.
Sure. Absolutely makes sense. Yeah, so go ahead and roll consort. Let's see like how good the information is.
And since I have one tick in consort, that means I roll one die.
That is
Is that
correct.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna make myself a green die, and we'll see what it comes out as.
Sure.
It is 3.
Okay, so with the 3, I'm going to say, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and like, just for the sake of the system understanding, like say what's going on in my head. I'll still give you the information, but it's going to be one of those, but you're not happy to hear the information kind of situation. So it's going to reveal how much more difficult it's going to be. So as you go to the bar and you hang out with your friends, you notice like the atmosphere is like really down. Like people are easily spooked. Like when you open the door, they all look at you like startled cats, right? Before I realize you have cats, so you fully understand this sensation. Anyway, so they close, when you close the door behind you, we're gonna say like it's dark and stormy and it's raining, and then the door just slams behind you shut and everybody goes back to their drink silently. When you check in on your friends, they're happy to see you, but they keep looking around like they're looking at the shadows as if something is going to pop up and attack them. And when you get more information, they say, oh, this is bad business. It's been a long time, but Fells Hollow, the Baron has plans there of some kind. Sister Red has moved in. So let me go ahead and share where that is on the map. So Fells Hollow is here, all the way out on the side. So what you know of, like as a sailor, right? You're familiar with this. Fells Hollow is like this calcified scary. I found out what scary is today. Anyway, so it's this really rocky small island, and it's full of these horrible ghost stories. This used to be where the Baron kept people that he was interrogating, right? But everyone knows that he was taking them and turning them into what is his army of masticators, which is just like, the Baron is like full on body horror, right? So it's just basically taking these people and like mushing them into like these like this army of like ravenous beings. Basically it's just this rolling mound of teeth and flesh and hunger and stuff. So it was where the first set of experiments were. And so you know that there's always just been really, really horrible stories about the place. You know, the place is incredibly haunted. you know that anyone that the Baron has placed there in order to hold power, horrible things keep happening to them. And they all survive for the most part, is what you know of. And so I will say with the information you get, you're able to know who is in power, right? And who's there helping Sister Red move in. You don't know why Sister Red chose this place or why she's here. But knowing what you know from the rest of the brigand, she's probably desperate. She's probably going after some sort of power source or ways to increase her power. And she's sure that she can easily defend Fell's Hollow compared to if she was anywhere else with Count Damask after her. But so anyway, you know who's in charge here before Sister Red. He's only known as the Drowner. So the Drowner serves the Baron for no other will have him, wretched that he is, formerly another vampire lord, so hungry for more power he betrayed the Crimson Crown and was dragged upon and under the bow of a mainland ship. His ragged form, tattered and bloated by drownings that would not end his suffering, proved him resilient. The Baron provides him with omniscience and a single masticator to man the fortress and see none take it who do not suffer the gnashing of teeth. The Drowner, craven and starved as he is a prisoner here as much of a master. For the low drakes have tasted him before and seek his demise ever yet. So you know about the low drakes, they're kind of like this horrible sea serpent dragon-like set of creatures that protect the area. Like think sharks plus vampires. That's kind of the situation going on. The person who wrote all of this is amazing, by the way. I love his work so much. Anyway, he does great OSR stuff. But yeah, his work's from Goatsman Goblet. But yeah, so you know that it's horrible. You know that there are sharks here. You know that the Drowner is here helping Sister Red. It's going to be horrible to get in. It's going to be difficult, even with the help of other people. So it's going to be a tough time period. But I will say, because even if you quotation mark wrote poorly, you're still going to get a better position and effect if you like later in dealing with either the Drowner or those lovely shark things. You know that there's a masticator already at the very least. You know there's the one, and you know that they're omniscients, basically zombie-like creatures. So very cheerful place.
It sounds it.
Wow. So how are we going to get Count Damask to go there?
Well, I'm going to, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So now it's like, how are we going to trick Damask into going there?
Yeah, I think for the sake of this foray, you don't have to worry about that per se. Count Damask is like absolutely willing to do this. He's like
it's hinted that there's some power there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm going to say, like, when we go in this foray, it's probably going to be in the midst of this battle already that's between Count Damask and Sister Red. So the only thing that you really have to worry about is getting in safely without having any of the other like hazards or traps or things get at you, because you're going to have Cassandra, Zachariah, all the rest. They're going to make sure that this fight happens. They're going to play both sides for you, but it's also going to be incredibly dangerous for them.
So our job is A, keep them alive, and B, make sure the vampires are gone by the time this is done.
Yeah.
Okay. So I haven't done my reconnaissance. Can I do a study on Fell's Hollow with like on the Drowner, essentially? Like, what is it that raises his attention? Can we keep him quiet? Can we keep him away from this? Or can we distract him? Kind of sort of looking into that.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. So let's see. So let's have you roll study.
Okay.
And then see what we can study about this poor wretched creature.
Yes.
What's
He
really
just
cool about
wants
the sorry, go ahead.
someone to love him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. So what's cool about these places in the Almanac or Brinkwood is it depends on who's in power, and then so it's going to be a different person in charge, right? So this is if the Baron's in power. Anyway, really good stuff.
5, 4, and 4.
Nice. Okay.
Not
So-
awful.
It's good. It's good. And so
Awful's awesome, but
all right. So to study the drowned, you do know, you've learned from, you were able to talk to several of your contacts. I'm going to say that actually like Argon helped you, right?
Yeah.
Because Argon was the one who was called upon to put together what remained of this wretched creature, the drowner, so that he could perform his duties for the Baron. So
poor Argon. Yeah, I think there's probably a thing of when I realized that Argon is the source that I need to go to, essentially I do like the Lady Samira thing with wine and stuff, but it's not so much for sexy times, it's for sedation after the conversation. Something to drown in.
both are
She knows it's going to be bad. Just got to get through this.
Yeah, and so when you ask Argon, actually his face doesn't change, but you realize it's kind of eerie, like it's frozen in this face of amiable. Like he's very open about it, and his tone is very even. It never breaks, but it feels very like he's somehow, he remembers everything, but he's disconnected himself from it as a way to deal with the trauma of what he went through. So Argon,
I will allow him to stay disconnected.
Yeah. So Argon details for you how he was able to keep the drowned together, but it's the drowned has learned how to adapt, and so he can separate himself at will if he needs to. And each part of him has it's kind of like if you like cut off the arm of an octopus, the octopus's arm will have, because like the brain is like in every part of the octopus, right? So like it'll become its own person. So that's what's going on for the drowned.
Are there already lots of drowned?
As far as Argon knows, they always come back together to become the one, but basically like he's telling you can't allow any part to like separate itself, because that's but at the same time it is also a weakness, because the drowned can't keep himself like in any cohesive form for too long. And with that information, I'm also going to tell you, Argon doesn't know exactly what the drowned is protecting in Fell's Hollow. He just knows that he's protecting something that's important to the Baron. And it's kept away in the dungeons.
And the form of the drowned is its ability to move around based on being like an octopus, I guess in that sort of way of like, I guess I'm going to ask, would salt be a way to slow him down or something like that? Is there some sort
like
of substance that we could do that he doesn't want to go, that he doesn't want to walk over or be on? Kind of thing.
Absolutely. I'm going to say that Argon knows that there should be no scientific reason for this, but if you take the anchor that the drowned was attached to when he was dragged across the ocean floor, right? If you can get like some part of it, because he's the drowned is like deathly afraid and weak to anything that's made from that anchor. So he suggests things like shavings or like an item made from it.
We have to do is find out where that thing is. So, and luckily we have an inn with the sea folk, so they would know. All right, excellent.
And Argon says, I do have one that I had to wear at all times when I was performing surgery, just to make sure that the drowner didn't lash out at me by accident. And so just give me a moment, I'll go through my things. And you notice at this point that he has not touched the wine at all the whole time.
Yeah, that's
like it's just been
legit.
There. Yeah.
And I haven't like, interrupted him or anything. It's a very strange, quiet conversation.
But he rummages through his things that he was able to recover because, you know, he spent the last few years not being really a person. Wow, Argan has been through a lot. Anyway, so he goes through his things. He comes back and he gives you like this necklace. It's this very beautiful chain, but at the end of it, it's just this very crude part of the anchor that's been sort of like hammered into like its vaguely crucifix shape, kind of. And he places it around your neck, hides it under your clothes, and he says, "Promise me that you won't take it off."
I won't. But I'm going to use it to see if we can find more of it. Okay?
And Arga nods and he says, "I'd ask you to be careful, but at this point, I don't know if you'll listen to me."
Always careful. I always listen to you. You're just skeptical.
And he says, I remember a time when you specifically did not listen to me, when I asked you to leave me behind and protect yourself, and he reaches out and he places a hand on your own, "But I'm glad you didn't leave me behind."
She kind of goes, "It will get better."
He nods. "Well, I wish I could say it can't get much worse, but I know that's not true."
That's why we fight.
But yeah, so at any point, if you want to use a flashback to say like you were able to get more and stuff like that, then absolutely could
Sounds
do that.
great.
Yeah. So I just feel like explaining from a GM level, like if Sherry had rolled a 6, then she would have already had access to everything she needed without having to use flashbacks, right, to gain this stuff. Just so that it's more clear, right, like how the pieces fit together. I know I make it sound like it's all one smooth story, but you know. Okay, so I think, are we ready to start this foray? Okay, so this feels like very like haunted Castlevania on this like we have proper
Yeah, it does
dungeons and
kind of
shit.
sound castle. It does sound like
Yeah,
Castlevania. It does.
yeah. I was like reading the
Platforming.
descriptions and I was like, what is this? It's so anyway, it's really good stuff. I love the almanac. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to figure out our initial approach, right? So this is once again just the initial approach. This doesn't have to be like how the entire foray is going to go, right? So are we going to go dramatic, which theoretically by having like a fight break out between Sister Red and Count Devas could, you know, be that subtle, you know, because how will you remain unnoticed while this is all going on? Tactical, rapid, cautious, charismatic, basically whatever you choose. You'll have to answer the question and then we'll go into entanglements. But yeah, so what do we think our approach is?
Tactical, maybe.
Yeah, I say either tactical, maybe rapid, because we're trying to get in at a certain window.
Yeah, like we've watched from afar, and then bam, we gotta. When it seems like the tide is changing to one side or the other, then we have to get in there and even it back out.
Oh,
get to what we're going for.
Like while it's low tide, right? There's a place to get in. That's kind of cool. Yeah, maybe well, if we're going to go with rapid, once again, as a GM, I'm going to say, I'm probably going to put a clock for like when you're going to lose access to that, when the tide comes back in, basically. You'll have to find another way to get out. So there is that. But yeah, I feel like rapid could make sense. What does everyone else think?
I was gonna suggest tactical or rapid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Perfect, yeah. Perfect. I kind of like after you talked about it, like the rapid, I think makes sense.
Yeah, it sounds challenging and hard. Because we got a clock,
Nothing
man.
Can go wrong.
Yeah, we'll see how many bad rolls we have and if we run ourselves down.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah. So on this note, we're going to talk about load. I will say because it's rapid. So let me go over just to make sure we can show it on the screen. So if we're going in rapid, I would say it would make sense for most people to like be at light load or normal load. You can have like at least one person be at 6 if you like, but considering that you have to move very quickly, because once again, the difference is this showing on the screen, my PDF reader? Okay, so if you go in like at 7 load, you're obviously a rebel, ready to do violence. Your encumbrance makes climbing, running, and other activities which require dexterity or stealth more difficult, right? But if you want to have one person fully loaded, that's also totally fine, just as long as like not everybody is. So what loadout do we think we're going to have for everyone?
Normal for me.
Yeah, I'm fine going light as well.
I think I might go light also.
Yeah, so it's like if you want to go as heavy, you can do that.
I'll compromise. I'll go normal because I was going to go light.
Mm.
Because I don't think Slick would go heavy.
Yeah, nice.
Bastion's usually our heavy guy. I think
Yeah.
he
That's
gets no
true.
penalty for it.
That's
so.
true.
We
That's
don't
true.
have our pack mule.
Sorry.
Poor guy.
That's just so much more than just a pack.
So much more.
But yeah, okay.
But he's also pretty handy in a
Mhm.
pinch if you need something. So.
Perfect.
Bastion's great.
Mhm.
So then we're going to go into they added stuff to the tools. Okay. Don't get distracted. What is that? They added so much stuff. Okay. Engagement. Okay, we're gonna do engagement. So let me share the screen on that again. Okay, so we're gonna start with 1d for every sedition level at the forays location. So let me double check the location where it is.
Else, I don't think we
Yeah.
have anything there.
Yeah, not yet.